Hi art friends, it's Mrs. Raleigh. Today we're going to learn to draw some flowers. All you need is some paper, a pencil, and markers, crayons, or colored pencils, even something to color in your flowers. We're going to learn to draw 3 flowers today: an iris, a rose, and poppies. Our first flower we're going to draw is the iris. So we're going to start off on our paper. I'm just going to start with an oval. Just an oval, and it's going to be light. I'm not going to draw dark because this is just some of my guidelines. Then I'm going to draw a second oval kind of underneath that first one. Almost looks like a UFO. I'm going to start with a curved line up, around, and back down on one side, and do that same shape on the other side of that oval. If you did the sea otters, it's the same kind of shape as their arms. I'm going to do an upside down V in the middle there. And then I'm going to start my petals on the outside. I'm going to do a curved line down, and then I'm going to start kind of on the edge of that V and another curved line. I'm going to do another shape like that just in the middle. It's almost like another big V, and then one on the other side. So these are some of the petals that are coming down the side of the iris. And again, these are some guidelines for me as I get ready to draw the rest of my flower and add some details. I'm going to then start with a line coming down, so you can see it, a line coming down. This is going to be the stem of my iris, and another line next to it, the parallel lines there. I'm going to start here. I'm going to do a big line up. This is going to be the leaf, one of the leaves. Irises have long, straight leaves that come off of it. They're not very wide, so I'm going to come back down pretty narrow for that leaf on that side. I'm going to do another line up for another leaf on this side of it. And down again, narrow leaves, not too thick. And let's do one more off the side. And one last leaf. So I have that nice outline of my flower. Now I'm going to go with a marker, and I'm going to start by doing squiggly lines over my pencil. I'm not following a straight line. I'm going to do it kind of squiggly to make it look a little bit more like the petals. I'm going to add one more petal up on the top here. I'm just going to go up and around with that squiggly line. And then I'm going to follow along the petals. When I get to my leaves, I'm going to do nice straight lines. I'm going to follow right over that pencil with nice straight lines to outline my leaves. Then I'm going to get ready to start coloring this in. I'm going to use marker, but you could use crayons, you could use colored pencils. I'm going to do purple. Irises tend to have nice blue, purple colors to them, so I'm going to do purple for mine. You could do a different color though. Just going to color that flower in with my purple. And then I'm going to use green to do my leaves and color in the stem as well as the leaves with the green. I'm going to go around the bottom, just some little lines around the bottom to look like some grass sitting around my iris. Then I'm going to take some black and I'm going to add a little bit of shading into my leaves. I'm just going to do some black lines on the bottom and a little bit at the top of each leaf, just to give it a little bit of shading on there. So the top of each leaf as well as the bottom of them. It just gives it a little bit more depth to the colors. I'm going to add some black to my petals as well. I'm just doing a couple little lines in the middle there. Again, the parts that would be a little darker on the flower. A little bit of lines on each petal. I'm going to go in next and do some lines on those top petals as well. And the petal on the very top. I'm going to color in those little kind of in between spots a little bit with the black, little lines through there just to darken that inside part. I'm going to do a couple little dots on my petals as well. Again, just trying to make them look a little bit more like actual petals. A couple little dots on those petals too. It's looking good. Now I'm just going to clean up a little bit of my pencil lines that I still see. That's why I like to start drawing light, so if I do need to erase anything. So I'm going to just erase some of those lines around there. And now we're done with our iris. Next, we're going to learn how to draw some poppies. I've got lots of poppies growing in my yard. They're one of my favorites. So poppies are those nice orange and yellow or reds. We're going to start on our first one. I'm going to do just a little curve, almost like an ear, and then a curve on the other side. It looks almost like a stretched out kind of heart, not as defined as a heart. I'm going to do a second petal behind that first one. Almost looks like a little butterfly there. Then I'm going to do a third petal over off of this side, and I'm just going to curve around, following that shape of that first petal. I'm going to do a little bit of one in the back, and another little one on this side in the back. Then I'm going to add just a line coming down for my stem. Poppies have a pretty thin stem, so I'm just going to do a second line kind of close to that first one there, and it's a nice thin line for the stem of my poppy. So we've got one poppy done. I'm going to do a couple, and we'll have some different views of the poppy. So in this one, I'm going to start with just a little, almost like a pea sort of shape there. I'm going to have the first petal come up. I'm going to go over and back down for a big petal. This one we're going to be looking at face on, looking right into the middle of it. I'm going to do that same kind of shape on the bottom, down, around, and back up. They don't have to be the same size. Flower petals tend to vary. I'm going to do a third petal tucked behind those first two, and a little one over on this side, and I'm going to do one last petal over there, and they're kind of overlapping, and we're going to give a different look to each of our poppies. I'm going to do that same kind of stem, one line, and then another. My stems aren't straight. Poppy stems are very rarely perfectly straight, so I'm going to curve them around a little bit. So that one's the one looking straight in on it. Now I'm going to do one more over here. I'm going to give myself a little space. I'm going to start with a curved line, and it's almost going to look like almost like a bird, a bird body. So I'm going to start with that shape there for the first one. Next, I'm going to do a little petal behind it. It's just going to curve around. This one's going to be more of a closed poppy. One more line around the top, and it's going to meet kind of the point of that first one. And I'm going to divide that actually into two. So this is a closed up poppy, and my stem's going to come down, and then a second stem on it. I feel like I didn't quite get my stem there where I want it to be. My poppy would be leaning over too much there, so I'm going to redo that stem real quick. Just going to clean it up and start with the stem a little more in the middle. So I like to draw light when I start, just in case you ever need to make any changes. So one, and then a second line on the other side of it. Now I'm going to start coloring in my poppies. I'm going to use orange marker to color in my poppies. You could do yellow or you could do red. I'm going to do a little yellow on the inside of that one poppy. But poppies do come in a little variety of color, but I'm going to do orange. So I'm going to color in each of my flowers. Then I'm going to outline my flowers just like we did with the iris. You could do, I'm going to do red there. I'll do the rest in black, but I colored in the flowers first just so that I didn't do the black first and then have that black run into the orange. So I started with my lighter color first this time. I'm going to add just a couple of dots and lines inside of that poppy just because we're looking at that one. A little bit of shading on some of the others just by doing some small little dots on the flower as well. Then I've outlined the stems, so I'm going to go in and color in those stems. And you could do the same thing we did with the iris, adding a little bit of grass around the bottom to complete our poppies. Next, we're going to learn how to draw a rose. So here's what it's going to look like. We're going to start off the rose just doing a little shape in the middle, almost like a little bean there in the middle. Like we started our one poppy. Then I'm going to do another little line following that around the top of it. That's going to start turning into, I'm going to start just with smaller petals and work our way up to bigger ones. Next one, I'm going to do that same kind of shape up and around. I'm kind of curling them. Rose petals are pretty soft, and so I want them to look like they're curving around and bending around. Next, I'm going to add one in the front here that goes up, around, and back down towards the front. So it's kind of wrapping around the other petals that we've created there. I'm going to add one little tiny one right there too. Next, I'm going to start on the side. I'm going to go down around the front this time with this petal. I'm going to do the other one starting on the side, go down and around the front. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Again, I want the petals to look like they're overlapping over each other. This is going to be a bigger petal. It's going to come around the front. I'm going to connect those two together. Do this one on the side here, down the front. I'm going to stop right about there. And I'll put another petal in front of it so that's tucked behind it. This line I'm going to continue out, and I'm going to curve that one down. It's going to be like a big, almost like a big happy face shape on the bottom there. And then I'm going to connect in front of that other petal, so I'm going to curve that around, or curve that up first, and then down and around. And then it's going to go in front of that other petal. I'm going to continue up over here to add another bigger petal. My petals are getting bigger as they get further away from the center. And then I'm going to just overlap them and keep doing those rounded lines to continue building the petals on my flower. And yours doesn't have to look exactly like this. Roses have lots of different shapes as the petals start to grow and change their shape a bit. I'm going to do a really big petal now. I'm going to come down, curve it around and back in. My petals are getting big as I get further away from the center of the flower. They get bigger. I'm going to go up. And again, not really doing straight lines. Curve it around, another nice big petal there. I'm going to start behind it. Remember, we're kind of overlapping and tucking those petals behind the others. And going around the flower now. Another big one coming down. And back in. And again, I'm curving those lines. Kind of want that flowing look of the petals. Do another petal on the bottom there. I'm going to tuck a smaller petal in between. I know we're getting bigger as we go further out, but sometimes you just see a little bit of a petal. So I'm going to tuck that one behind there. And it's starting to look more like a rose now. Let's add some leaves on there. So I'm going to do a curved line coming down, and this curve is going to come out. I'm going to have them come to a point. So it's just going to curve out and come to a point. Now I'm going to go back and add a little jagged line at the start of my petal on both sides. Just kind of a zigzag in and out on that petal. And that'll make it look a little bit more like a rose petal or a rose leaf. They're not straight edge. They have those zigzag lines. I'm going to do another leaf on this side of the flower too. I'm going to start with that curved line out on both sides, coming to a point in the middle, and then I'm going to add that jagged edge on one side of the leaf, and then I'll add it on the other side of the leaf. So there, I finished up my rose drawing. To color this one, all I did, I'm not going to show you the coloring, but all I did on this one is I outlined the flower in red, I outlined the leaves in a dark green, and then I colored the rose in with a pink, and then colored the leaves in with a lighter green. Thanks for drawing with me. Have a great day.